Okay, today we're going to be talking about comparing fractions using the strategy like numerators. So there are many ways that we can compare fractions. Okay, so there are going to be certain things you're checking for. One of the things that you can check for is to see if the fractions have a like numerator. That means that the fractions have the same number on the top and on the bottom. So for example, 1/3 compared to 1/8. They both have a 1 at the top. That's what we mean a like numerator. The numerators are alike. They're equal. Okay, so that's one question you can ask yourself. Do the fractions have a like numerator? So before we start talking about fractions, I'm going to just talk about sharing, okay? Because fractions are kind of like division and sharing. So I have 12 markers that I'm going to share with just myself and a friend. So one for me, one for my friend. One for me, one for my friend. One for me, one for my friend. Oh my goodness gracious, we're rolling everywhere. One for me, one for my friend. One for me, one for my friend. One for me, and one for my friend. Okay, so now we're gonna look and see how many does each person get if I only share with 2 people, myself and a friend. So I had 12 markers to start, and if I look here, 12 split between 2 people is 6. So each person will get 6 markers. Now, what if I had 3 friends and I'm gonna share with 3 people? So use this, whoops, I'm dropping markers. One for me, one for friend A, one for friend B, one for friend C. One for me, one for friend A, one for friend B, one for friend C. Can't see all that, okay. One for me, one for friend A, one for friend B, one for friend C. Now, I'm sharing with more people, so what happened to the amount of markers that we got? Well, as we shared with more people, now we're only getting 3 markers. So the more people I share with, the smaller the amount that I get is. Think about it like if you have siblings. Okay, if your siblings are away for the weekend, you're gonna probably get more attention, or you're gonna maybe get more food, okay? But if it's Thanksgiving dinner and you and your siblings and all of your aunts, uncles, cousins are at your house, and you all have to share one pie, you're not gonna get as much pie as if it was just you and your parents. Okay, so that's where we get the idea of the more people we share with, the smaller amount they get. And you can see how that works with the fractions. If I'm only sharing with 2 people, I get a bigger piece than if I have to share with 6. Okay, so the more I share, the bigger the piece let me back up. The more pieces I have, which means the more people I have to share with, the smaller the pieces become. So if I'm sharing with 8 people, I have to have 8 pieces. That means small, they're small. But if I only have to share with 3 people, then my fraction of 1/3 is gonna be a bigger size because I'm only sharing with 3 people. Okay, so that's where we get the idea that the bigger the denominator, the smaller the pieces, okay? So the first thing we're gonna write down, you should have the title in your book, Comparing Fractions Like Numerators, okay? Pause the video and write that down if you haven't already. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna write down is the more we share, the smaller the piece. So we're going to take a moment to write that down in our notebook. The more we share, the smaller the piece we get. Okay. So take a moment, write that down, pause the video. Okay, so we're back. The more we share, the smaller the piece. So let's say that I have 1/3 and 1/8. So this is example 1 that we're writing down in our journal. 1/3 and 1/8. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the numerators. And I see that the numerators are the same, so I don't need to worry about them. I know that I'm getting 1 piece and my friend is getting 1 piece. Okay, but so now I look at the denominators. This means that I'm sharing with 3 people. This means I'm sharing with 8 people. Okay, so would I rather share with 3 or would I rather share with 8? There's 1/3, there is 1/8. I would rather share with just 3 people than with 8 people. So if I'm getting 1 piece that's 1/3 and 1 piece that's 1/8, I'd much rather have the thirds than the eighths. Okay, now let's try an example where the numerator is not 1, okay, and see if it still works. So example number 2. We're going to say 2/5 and 2/12. So, thinking to myself, okay, I need to compare these fractions. One thing I can look for is to see if the numerators are the same. So I'm looking up here to see, are my numerators the same? Okay, so they are. I see I'm getting 2 pieces and my friend is getting 2 pieces. So we're both getting 2 pieces. So now I'm thinking, would I rather have the pie split into 5 pieces or the pie that's split into 12? And I'm thinking to myself, well, if I have to split my pie and share it with 12 people, or just split it into 12 pieces, those pieces are going to be really tiny, because if I take a whole and I split it into 12 pieces, that's just a little teeny tiny bit for everybody. So my friend gets 2 pieces, but their size 1/12. I get 2 pieces, but their size 1/5. So who gets more when I'm looking at these fractions? The person that has 1/5 and 1/5, or the person that has 1/12 and 1/12? Well, I'd rather have the 5ths than the 12ths, okay? And if it confuses you that the numerators are not 1, you could think about it like when we talked about unit fractions, that it's 1/5 and 1/5, so it's 2 1/5s. And this is 2 1/12s. And since I have 2 of each, I know that 1/5 is greater than 1/12, and this 1/5 is greater than 1/12, and this 1/5 is greater than 1/12. So my 5ths are bigger than my 12ths. So 2/5 is greater than 2/12. Okay. Last example that we're going to do together. Okay, that should be in your notes. Example 3. And then I'll have some examples for you to do that you can show me when you come to the table. Example 3 for our notebook. Let's do 3/10, and yes, let's do 3/4. Okay, so again, I know I need to compare these fractions. The first thing I can think in my brain is check, are the numerators the same? Okay, so I have 3/10 and I have 3/4. The numerators are the same, so I can use the common numerator strategy. 3/10 is like having 3 1/10 pieces. Okay, that's 3/10. 3/4 is like having 3 1/4 pieces. So really, all I need to decide is a tenth bigger or is 1/4 bigger? Well, I know that tenths are being split with a lot of people. Okay, tenths are split a lot of people. Fourths are not split between as many people. So I think that the tenths are probably going to be smaller than the fourths because I have to split it with more people, so each person gets less. So this tenth is less than this fourth. This tenth is less than this fourth. This tenth is less than this fourth. If we all have 3, everybody gets an equal number of pieces. I look at the size. So 3/10 is less than 3/4 because 1/10 is less than 1/4. Both people have 3, so they have an equal amount of pieces. So we look at the size. So what we're going to write down as our notes is if the numerators are the same, tours are the same, that means each person gets the same amount. Each has the same number of pieces. So if the numerators are the same, each has the same number of pieces, compare the size of the pieces. Which is your denominator. Okay, so if the numerators are the same, that means each have the same number of pieces. Compare the size of the pieces. Which one has the bigger pieces? Which one has the smaller pieces? Thinking about sharing. Okay, so this needs to be in your notes. Pause your video so you can write that down, and then I'm going to give you 3 more examples to do when you unpause the video. So make sure to unpause the video after you write this down for your last 3 examples that I want you to do. So example 4, I would like you to compare 1/6 and 1/2. Example 5, I would like you to compare 5/8 and 5/12. And example 6, I would like you to compare 3/5 and 3/10. Okay, so when you come to the table, make sure that you have your notes down and that you have the answers to these questions. Please make sure to bring them with you and be ready to explain how you got your answer.